Captain Jim Kim peered through the curved glass of the view screen, his eyes narrowing at the strange object floating. In the darkness, the Dauntless had been on its routine patrol of the Kuiper Belt. When their sensors picked up the anomaly, "What are we looking at, Dr. Park Jun?" asked, his voice calm despite the racing of his heart. Science officer Hannah Park stood beside him, her fingers dancing across her tablet as data streamed in. "It's artificial, Captain, definitely not natural, and it's active, the structure." Before them gleamed with a metallic silver sheen that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it every few seconds. Pulses of blue-green energy rippled across its surface. It resembled a flattened hexagon with towers rising from each point, and it was easily the size of a small moon. "Communications Officer Lee, any signals?" John asked. Communications Officer D shook his head. "Nothing directed at us, sir, but the object is transmitting something toward the center of the galaxy encrypted." Unlike anything in our databases, the bridge fell silent as the implication sank in. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, humanity had finally found proof, not through radio signals or distant observations, but here at the edge of their own solar system. "How did we miss this before?" June muttered, more to himself than to his crew. "It may have been cloaked, sir," Hannah suggested, her eyes not leaving her screens, "or it might be new." Lieutenant Sun and the tactical officer shifted uncomfortably at his station. "Sir, I recommend we raise shields and arm weapons as a precaution." June considered this for a moment. "Not yet, Lieutenant. Let's not make first contact with our guns pointed at them." He turned to Communications Officer Low. "Broadcast standard greeting protocols on all frequencies." "Broadcasting, sir." Minutes ticked by with no response. The alien structure continued its silent vigil, pulsing with that strange energy. June was about to order a closer approach when Officer Lee suddenly straightened in his chair. Captain, energy spike from the structure before June could respond. A beam of light shot from the alien station directly into the bridge of the Dauntless. Instead of causing damage, the light expanded into a perfect sphere in the center of the room. Within seconds, the sphere transformed, revealing three tall figures standing in a triangle formation. The bridge crew froze. The aliens were humanoid but unmistakably not human. Each stood nearly 2.5 meters tall, with slender bodies covered in what appeared to be form-fitting armor, their skin visible only on their faces, and hands shimmered with an iridescent quality that shifted between blue and green. Most striking were their six-fingered hands and large lidless eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. To his credit, John did not flinch. Years of training had prepared him for unexpected situations, though perhaps not this specific one. He stepped forward, keeping his posture relaxed but dignified. "I am Captain Jun Kim of the Earth exploration vessel Tunis. We come in peace and friendship." The central figure tilted its head, studying June with those unblinking eyes, and it spoke. Its voice was oddly melodic, almost like singing. "I am Supervisor Kell of the Galactic Concord Observation Division. Your presence here is irregular and concerning." The translator systems in the ship worked flawlessly, a small miracle that June would appreciate later. Now he focused on maintaining the diplomatic connection. "We were exploring the outer regions of our solar system," Chun explained. "We detected your station and came to investigate." The three aliens exchanged looks, their expressions unreadable to human eyes. The one called Kell spoke again. "You have developed interplanetary spaceflight capabilities without proper authorization or oversight. This is unprecedented in our records." A murmur ran through the bridge crew. Jum kept his face neutral despite his confusion. "I'm afraid I don't understand," he said carefully. "We didn't realize we needed permission to explore our own solar system." The alien to Kell's right made a sound like rushing water, which the translator didn't convert. Kell raised one six-fingered hand in what seemed to be a calming gesture. "All developing species are monitored and guided by the Concord," Kell explained, as if reciting from a man. "Technological advancement is carefully regulated to ensure the safety and stability of the galaxy. Your species has bypassed numerous monitoring checkpoints." Hannah Park stepped forward, unable to contain her scientific curiosity. "You've been watching Earth for how long?" "Your planet has been in the cataloging system for approximately 20,000 of your years." replied the third alien speaking for the first time. However, your technological progress rate exceeded all models. Our monitoring station was only deployed 800 years ago. June and Hannah exchanged surprised glances. 800 years ago humans were still fighting with swords and traveling by horse, and this galactic Concord. June asked, how many worlds does it encompass? The Concord oversees 4,731 inhabited systems with active species development and manages 458 protected worlds with technological life. Kell stated with evident pride, we maintain the oldest and most stable interstellar civilization in the known galaxy with continuous administrative records spanning 23,000 years. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just meeting aliens, they were encountering an ancient vast empire that apparently considered Earth its property. And what happens now? June asked, keeping his voice steady. Your unauthorized advancement has triggered an intervention protocol. Kell said, a diplomatic delegation will be dispatched to your world to begin integration procedures. Your planetary leadership must be prepared to receive them. Lieutenant Yun tensed visibly at his tactical station, but Jim subtly signaled him to remain calm. I'm sure our leaders would be happy to meet with your delegates, Jum said diplomatically, but I should inform you that Earth is not a unified political entity. We have multiple nations and governments. This statement caused the aliens to confer among themselves in their untranslatable language. Clearly agitated, when Kell turned back to June, there was something new in those alien eyes, something that looked almost like fear. Political fragmentation at your technology level is concerning the last species to maintain separate nations after achieving space flight caused a regional war that affected 12 systems. June decided to change the subject. You mentioned your civilization has existed for over 20,000 years. Your technological achievements must be impressive. To his surprise, Kell seemed to hesitate. The Concord maintains technological stability. Our current systems have been optimized and unchanged for the past 2,000 years. Innovation without necessity leads to disruption. As the conversation continued, a picture began to emerge that left the human crew increasingly bewildered. The mighty Galactic Concord, despite its age and size, had deliberately stopped advancing. They used the same ships, the same weapons, the same communication systems that they had used for millennia, not because they couldn't develop further, but because they chose not to. Captain Hannah whispered to June, they're afraid of change. June nodded slightly. Humanity, born on a dangerous world with countless predators and natural disasters, had survived through constant adaptation and innovation. These aliens, it seemed, had evolved in safer environments and had developed a society that valued stability above all else. As the meeting concluded and the aliens prepared to return to their station, Supervisor Kell issued what was clearly meant to be a reassuring statement. Do not be concerned, the Concord will guide your species toward proper integration. Your dangerous tendencies toward unregulated innovation will be corrected for the good of all. After the aliens disappeared, the bridge remained silent for several long moments. Set course for Earth. June finally ordered maximum speed. We need to prepare our people for what's coming. As the Dauntless turned homeward, June couldn't help but wonder if the Galactic Concord would what they were about to encounter in humanity, a species that had never stopped innovating, never stopped competing, never stopped reaching for the stars despite all odds. The grand meeting hall in Sioux buzzed with tension. The space had been chosen for its historical significance, a modern building constructed on the site of an ancient palace representing humanity's respect for tradition alongside its drive for progress. Now it hosted the most important diplomat IC meeting in human history. Ambassador Min sat tall despite her small stature across the polished oak table. The Concord delegation loomed, their iridescent skin catching the light as they shifted in their seats. 3 weeks had passed since the Dauntless made first contact, barely enough time for Earth's nations to form a united response team. Grand Overseer PRA, the head of the delegation, tapped his 6 fingers together in what humans had learned was a gesture of impatience. Unlike Supervisor Kell from the monitoring station, PRA wore elaborate robes with metallic threads that seemed to move on their own. His lidless eyes fixed on Mina with Uncomfortable intensity. We have reviewed your planetary situation, PRA announced. His translator producing perfect Korean that was then converted to the dozen other human languages for the observers. The Concorde's decision is finalized. Earth will be classified as a Category 3. Develop ING world requiring direct oversight. Mina's assistant Juno slid a data tablet toward her with the details of what Category 3 entailed. She glanced at it briefly. The terms amounted to complete surrender of human autonomy. Grand Overseer Mina began her voice steady. Humanity appreciates the Concorde's interest in our world. We are eager to learn about galactic society and establish peaceful relations. Good PR. Interrupted. Your compliance will make the transition smoother. However, Mina continued as if he hadn't spoken. Earth must respectfully decline immediate membership as a protectorate. We propose instead a period of cultural exchange and gradual integration allowing both sides. Though the translator couldn't fully capture the sound, Proc made something between a hiss and a clicking noise. The other Concorde representatives shifted uncomfortably. Unacceptable, PRA said. You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. From the corner of her eye, Mina could see the military representatives from various Earth nations tensing. General Kwan from the Korean Forces, General Petra from Russia and Admiral Jackson from the United States all wore the same grim expression. With respect, Mina said, Earth has a long tradition of sovereign independence. Our people would not accept external rule without consultation. Priests' skin rippled with colors that the human scientists believed indicated emotional states. The current pattern suggested extreme agitation. Your species developed in a harsh environment with dangerous predators. PRA stated, your history is violent. Your literature glorifies conflict. Your entertainment simulates warfare. You require supervision. The room fell silent. In the 3 weeks since first contact, Earth scientists had been working around the clock studying the limited data from the dauntless encounter. Their theories about the Concorde were being confirmed with every word from PRA's mouth. The Concorde has maintained galactic peace for over 20,000 years. PRA continued, we have methods for integrating species like yours. Mina leaned forward slightly. Perhaps you could tell us more about these methods and about other species similar to humans. This question seemed to catch Proc off guard. He consulted briefly with his aides before responding. The Vidians of System 87C displayed similar aggressive tendencies. Their integration required 3 standard cycles but was ultimately successful. And how do the Vidians fare now? Asked Mina. They are productive members of the Concorde. Their natural resources are efficiently harvested and their population is stable. June silently handed Mina another note. She read it quickly and looked back at PRA. Grand Overseer, our preliminary research suggests that most Concorde species evolved on WHS with stable climates, minimal predators and abundant resources. Is this correct? The question clearly made PRA uncomfortable. The founders were blessed with harmonious evolution. Yes, many member species share this fortunate history. While humans evolved on a world with extreme climate variations, numerous predators and constant competition for resources. Mina stated, these conditions shaped our development differently. Precisely why you require guidance. PRA said firmly, your natural instincts toward competition and aggression must be channeled appropriately. Mina smiled politely. We see these traits as strengths. Grand Overseer, our adaptability has helped us survive challenges that might have destroyed less resilient species. The meeting continued for another hour with the Concorde representatives listing the benefits of membership: access to established trade routes, protection from unnamed galactic threats, and the privilege of contributing resources to the greater good of the Concorde. Not once did they mention technological exchange or scientific cooperation as the discussion wound down. Mina tried one more approach. Perhaps we could arrange for a human delegation to visit the Concorde Central Worlds to better understand what we would be joining. Impossible, PRA said immediately. Unintegrated species are not permitted on Concorde core worlds. Then perhaps a longer exchange here on Earth, several months to establish cultural understanding. PRA rose to his impressive height, towering over the seated humans. The decision is made. You have been granted the standard adjustment period of 30 days. When it expires, a pacification fleet will arrive to begin the integration process. He looked around the room at the assembled human representatives. Prepare your people. Resistance would be regrettable with that. The Concord delegation departed, their movements fluid and synchronized in a way that reminded Mina of insects from a single hive. When the doors closed behind them, the room erupted in multiple languages. General Quan was the first to approach Mina. Their threatening invasion, he said bluntly, we must prepare our defenses. Admiral Jackson nodded. But what kind of weapons do they have? What are we up against? Mina held up her hand for quiet. The science team has some theories based on the dauntless scans of their monitoring station. Please share your findings. Dr. E. A small woman with sharp eyes and a quicker mind stepped forward with her tablet. The Concord technology is advanced, certainly beyond our current capabilities in many areas. However, it's surprisingly static. What do you mean by static? Asked General Petro. Their ships, their weapons, their communication systems, they all appear to be based on the same fundamental designs they've been using for thousands of years. Drei explained. They haven't innovated, they've refined and perfected, yes, but not truly advanced. The locations hung in the air. Humanity had gone from horse-drawn carriages to space travel in less than 2 centuries. The pace of human innovation was exponential, while the Concord had deliberately plateaued. So they complacent, General Quan said thoughtfully, but still more powerful than us. Mana stood and walked to the window overlooking the Seoul skyline. Perhaps in raw power, yes, but not in adaptability or creativity. She turned back to the room. We have 30 days. Let's use them wisely. She left the main conference room and entered a secure communication chamber where she placed a call to Defense Director Tung, who was overseeing the global military response from a bunker beneath the Pacific Ocean. His face appeared on screen, lines of worry etched deeply around his eyes. How did it go? Exactly as expected, Mina replied. They're not interested in negotiation. A pacification fleet will arrive in 30 days. Tong nodded grimly. Then we need to accelerate the SHIELD program. The scientists think they can adapt the principles we observe from the Concord monitoring station. Will it be enough? Mina asked. It has to be, Tung said simply. We've also been analyzing their communication frequencies. There's something interesting. There's something we might be able to use. What about Project Mirror? Progressing faster than expected. Human engineers are doing what they do best, improvising. Mina allowed herself a small smile. The Concord doesn't understand what they're dealing with, do they? They see our history of warfare as a flaw. They've never had to fight for their survival. Tung replied. Not like we have, not like we still do. As she ended the call, Mina looked again at the city sprawling below, millions of people going about their lives, most still unaware of the threat hanging over them. The world governments had decided to control the release of information about the alien ultimatum, fearing panic, but soon everyone would know, and then humanity would do what it had always done when faced with an existential threat. It would fight, it would adapt, it would survive. And the Galactic Concord, for all its age and supposed wisdom, had had no idea what was coming. The alarm sounded throughout every major city on Earth as the Concord fleet emerged from what humans now knew was called Fold Space. 30 days had passed since the ultimatum, then 40, then 50. For a brief time people had hoped the aliens had reconsidered. They hadn't. They had simply assembled a larger force. Commander Jiho Park stood on the bridge of the experimental vessel Defiance, watching the main view screen as the alien ships appeared one by one. They were beautiful in a strange way, curved, elegant vessels that shimmered with the same iridescent quality as their creators' skin. 17 ships in total, arranged in a perfect geometric pattern. Above Earth. They're certainly punctual, said Lieutenant Min, Jiho's tactical officer. Jiho nodded. And predictable. The past 3 months had been the most intense period of unified human effort in history. Once the threat became clear, ancient rivalries had been set aside. Scientists, engineers and military strategists from every nation had worked together, cooling resources and knowledge. The Defiance was the result of that collaboration, not a warship in the traditional sense, but something new, something uniquely human. Incoming Transmission from the Lid Concord vessel, reported Communications Officer Yuna. Their demand in to speak with our leaders put it on screen, Jiho ordered. The alien commander appeared, his elaborate uniform indicating his high rank. I am Admiral Zenth of the Concord. Pacification Fleet, your adjustment period has expired. Earth will now submit to integration procedures. Jiho straightened his uniform. Admiral Zenth, I am Commander Jiho Park of Earth Defense. Our leadership has asked me to convey that we still wish to discuss peaceful alternatives to integration. The alien skin rippled with colors that the humans had learned indicated impatience or possibly contempt. There are no alternatives. Your species has been evaluated and categorized. Integration will proceed, and if we decline, Admiral Zenth seemed confused by the question. Decline? That is not an option. We have studied your military capabilities. You cannot resist. Jiho allowed himself a small smile. Perhaps you should update your intelligence, Admiral. Things have changed since your last assessment. Your primitive defenses are noted but irrelevant. Zenth replied, we will now demonstrate our capabilities to encourage your cooperation. The transmission ended abruptly. On the tactical display, one of the smaller Concord vessels moved forward, positioning itself above the northern Atlantic Ocean. Their powering weapon men reported energy buildup consistent with what we observe from their monitoring station, but much larger scale. Jiho tapped his communicator. Global defense, this is Defiance. The demonstration has begun. Shield systems activate. On my mark. Now around the world thousands of newly constructed towers activated simultaneously. They had been built using principles reverse engineered from the Concord monitoring station combined with human innovations. A shimmering blue field of energy sprang into existence, enveloping the planet in a protective bubble. On the screen, the Concord ship fired a bright beam of energy lanced toward Earth, striking the shield. The bridge crew of the Defiance held their breath. The shield wavered, distorted, and held shield integrity at 92%, reported men unable to keep the triumph from his voice. Exactly as the models predicted. Jiho nodded. Send the signal to Earth. Command. Phase 1 successful. Beginning Phase 2. He turned to his navigator. Lieutenant Song, take us up. Let's introduce ourselves properly. The Defiance rose from its hidden base in the Pacific Ocean, water streaming from its unusual hull. Unlike traditional spacecraft, the Defiance didn't look particularly impressive. Its exterior was a patchwork of different materials, seemingly haphazard in design. To an outside observer it might have appeared cobbled together, even primitive. That was precisely the point. They're scanning us. Men reported. Their communications just lit up. I think we've surprised them. Good. Jiho said, let's surprise them more. Prepare the mirror system. As the Defiance approached the Concord fleet, Admiral Zenth's face appeared on screen again. What is this? Your vessel is unusual. It's called innovation. Admiral Joe replied, something your people seem to have forgotten. Your shield technology, Zenth said, ignoring the job. It resembles our own. We're quick learners. The alien skin darkened, which their research suggested indicated alarm. You have 30 minutes to deactivate your shields and prepare for landing parties, or we will escalate our response. Jiho looked around at his crew, seeing determination in their eyes. We have a counterproposal, Admiral. A demonstration of our own before Zenth could respond. Joe nodded. To Min, execute maneuver Alpha. The Defiance suddenly accelerated at a rate that should have been impossible for a ship of its size. It shot forward, then abruptly changed direction, darting between two of the larger Concord vessels. They're trying to target us, men reported. But their weapons can't lock on. This was the key discovery Earth scientists had made. The Concord weapon systems were incredibly powerful but relied on predictable targeting algorithms. They had never needed to develop more sophisticated systems because they had never faced enemies who could move unpredictably. Mirror system activated, reported Engineer Kong from below decks. Were reading their command frequencies. The mirror system was humanity's masterstroke, a technology that could intercept, decode and replicate Concord communication signals in real time, not to attack but to confuse. Suddenly every Concord ship began receiving contradictory orders seemingly from their own command structure. Their perfect formation began to waver as some ships moved one way while others moved differently. They trying to recalibrate Men said, watching the data flow across his screen, adjusting mirror frequencies. Now the Defiance continued its dance through the Concorde fleet, never firing a shot, just demonstrating maneuverability that the aliens had thought physically impossible. Each time the Concorde adjusted their targeting, the humans adjusted faster. Admiral Zent's face appeared again, his composure noticeably shaken. What are you doing? This is not standard combat protocol, that it's rather the point. Admiral Jiho replied calmly, humans don't follow standard protocols, we adapt. As he spoke, the Defiance executed a tight spiral around the Concorde flagship, coming so close that the alien crew must have been able to see the human vessel through their viewports. Our technology is superior, Zent protested, his translator struggling to convey the emotion in his voice. Our civilization has existed for 20,000 years. Your technology is stagnant, Jiho responded. You stopped innovating millennia ago, and now you're facing a species that never stopped to drive home the point. Jiho gave the order to activate the Defiance's final surprise, a targeted electromagnetic pulse not powerful enough to permanently damage the Concorde ships, but enough to temporarily disable their communication systems. In the sudden silence that followed, Earth's other ships emerged from hiding, 50 smaller vessels each incorporating different aspects of reverse-engineered Concorde technology combined with human ingenuity. When communications were restored minutes later, the Concorde fleet found itself surrounded. Admiral Zent, Jiho said, his voice firm but not threatening. Not a single shot has been fired, not a single life has been lost. That is humanity's demonstration. We could have attacked, but we chose not to. Now shall we discuss terms as equals? The silence stretched out as Zent consulted with his officers off-screen. When he returned, his posture had changed subtly. The Concorde has existed for 20,000 years because we recognize when adaptation is necessary, Zent said carefully. Perhaps a discussion would be appropriate. As negotiations began, none of the participants realized that the entire encounter had been observed by dozens of other species throughout the galaxy. The Concorde's communication systems, unchanged for thousands of years, were easily monitored by any technological civilization with the interest to do so within days. Words spread throughout the Empire. The mighty Concorde, unchallenged for millennia, had been outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive, not through superior firepower or aggression but through innovation and adaptability. On worlds where the Concorde's rule had begun to chafe, people looked to the